Alright, welcome to part 3 of the, I'm not going to say the name because it's way too long, tutorial, and that was almost as long, but in this part, as I said, last part, we're going to model this part here. Before we do that, one other thing we might do with this is, I'll just go back into dynamic subdivision. You can see here where, you know, even though these are dead straight in the low poly, when we divide, you know, they kind of look a bit kind of curvy. As I said, you can add creases in here to tighten that up, but it's more the actual shape here that we might want to adjust. So what we can do there is we can just use our slice curve tool, and we can slice right through and just maybe add in a loop here and add in a loop here. Now this is going to, because we've edge loops close together on this curve here, this is going to change the shape. I'll just see this, if this ever pops up, the mesh contains blah blah blah, UVs, whatever. It took me a bit of roaring and shouting and cursing to figure that out, but all it is come down to UV map and just delete UV. And we won't have that problem because we started from a poly primitive, or a primitive shape. It automatically has UVs on it, so once you start manipulating it, it just goes a bit crazy. So yeah, just delete the UV. So now we can go into Subdivide, and I'm just going to have a quick look and see, turn off the floor, if what I'm talking about has occurred. I don't know if you can see it there in the video, but it's almost like, because we've edge loops that are close together here on the curve, it's not as noticeable here because this is more of a flat area. As I said earlier, when you're sub-D modeling, you know, sometimes you want to space things out as much as you can to get the best result when smooth. So what we can do there is we can use our slide, and we can slide edge loop complete, and we can also take advantage of our masking. So we don't want to move these ones because they're the control edges. So what we'll do is we'll just mask off these here, the control edges that we don't want to be affected, and then we can just space slide edge loop complete, and we can just slide this edge here, space it out a bit more, and slide this one out here. And we could even, we're going to leave that there because that's, as I say, our control edge, and now that just maintains that curvature a bit better because we slid it, and we're sliding it along the existing geometry. So just another thing to keep in mind. And now you can see that these are straight as opposed to the way they were before, when they were kind of doughy, and we don't have that sort of hard-ish crease there that was there. So now that that's out of the way, that looks better. We'll turn our floor back on and start with this part. This part, as I say, it's going to be easy. So what we're going to do here is sub tool, and we're going to append, just pick anything here, and come down to initialize and Q cube. Sorry, I had the wrong subtool selected. So what you can do is just create any polymesh 3D object, and then just append any polymesh 3D object to your original subtool, and then just Q cube. I have all this stuff up here just to show you it's down here. So now we have Q cube, and I go back up here to just keep it white, and now we're going to move our Q cube Q cube down into position here. So we'll just maybe move it up to the corner, roughly into position where we want it. And as you can see, we can press X and then we can use our symmetry. So first things first, Q and Zmodeler-Zbrush, space, Q mesh, flat island, start to drag, and then just hold shift and it'll turn to a move operation, and just we can move it into position there. And now we're going to go back to move, and we're going to mask this out here, invert the mask, and just bring that out a little bit, get that edge just to line up with our reference, and clear the mask. Then we can just mask these, invert the mask, and you know, we could just bring it down to maybe line up here with this, and then we'll clear the mask and invert it and bring the last part down. So now what we can do is Q to go back to draw mode, and Q mesh, and because this X symmetry is on, we can just Q mesh single poly. Sorry, I just want to clear that mask. Q mesh a single poly, back to our reference, and move mask. I'm going to switch back to mask mask rectangle. So mask, invert the mask, and we'll just shift and drag that down into position. So clear the mask again and Q, and now what we want to do is we want to bring these out to here on the reference. So hold down space and flat island, you can bring that out, and we want to bring it out one more time and one more time, and now we can just set our fill mode up to 3, and using our mask and transposing we can adjust these as needed. So invert that, move that into position, clear the mask, sorry, invert the mask, move this into position, clear the mask, invert the mask, and position that up there. And now if I just come back here to fill mode 1, clear our mask, Q for to go back to draw mode, and Q mesh, going to tag that, or else we could just use a single poly here, and then we're going to just pull it down. Sorry, it's on flat island, so we just go to a single poly and pull that down. I think maybe because symmetry's on, I'm just going to turn off symmetry. I'm going to check one more thing. Traction, single poly. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's happening. That should be just snapping. So we might try it this way instead. I'm just going to tag them and tag these instead, and do it that way. We turn symmetry back on first, and I think it didn't seem to work. What the hell? So we can just mirror and weld, and then we might want to clean up these weird edges. So delete, and it's not letting me delete because I don't think it allows you to leave none or leave n-gons. So another thing we can do, use one of these other tools, hover over an edge and just stitch and then we can just, it's just like welding in your normal 3D package, just like welding verts. So that's that. So I went down too far there, so what I'm going to do is mask these, invert the mask, and we'll just move them up. Sorry, I didn't mask enough there. Mask them, invert, move them up, and now clear the mask and fill mode to 3, and we're going to insert a couple of edge loops here. So insert single edge loop, and we put one here, one here, one here, and one there. So back to fill mode 1, and now we want to inset this. So we'll inset that. If you hold shift, it'll constrain it to a square. We don't want that, so just inset that in a bit like that. And now we will yeah, symmetry still on. And now we'll Q mesh again, single poly, drag it in once, and just drag it in again there. And then if we wanted it, we could delete that, but it doesn't matter because there's going to be more geometry inside here, as you can see from the reference. Yeah, I think I'll just delete it. Yeah. So delete and delete, and now you can see it's a weird crazy blob because we haven't added any crease in our control loops or anything like that. So we'll do that now. So I'm going to just separate all these into their own polygroups for the creasing. So hover over a face, polygroup, and flat island, and then I can just click, and it's just gonna give us that flat island. And you can also click, let's do it here, you can click and hold down the mouse and tap shift. Sorry, my mistake. If you tap alt, it's when you're copying and pasting the polygroups that you tap shift, you tap alt, and you can see here it's gonna keep the last polygroup, so you can just keep tapping then for solid this out and get your different polygroups. So we pretty much have all them there as we want them. And now we're going to hover over a face and crease, polygroup island, and polygroup border. So we can just start to crease all these now. And crease that, and that. And now we'll have a quick look. So we're going to need some creasing in these edges because this is crease the whole thing entirely. So I'm going to need creasing on edges. So we go back to crease, and edge, and then just crease these edges manually. And this might be the last one here. So we want to just having a look there, maybe slight curve there, so I'm going to take a crease off that, add a crease here, take the crease off this, and the crease off these. I think I'll take the crease off all these outer corners and maybe just add some control edges so we can control it a bit more, or else we can use that bevel. Maybe we'll actually use the beveling, the crease beveling instead. So we will need some control edges here. So I'll just drop that back to 1, and pop some control edges. Let me see, insert, pop some, one here, one here. You see, because this is an entirely flat sort of a boxy shape, you haven't got half the problems that you usually run into when you're modeling curve shapes. I'm missing this control edge here, so we'll have a look at that now. And yeah, that's pretty much that shape built. So we have another little section here to add on, but we could add that on with the insert mesh brushes. So we could create a little insert mesh brush to put in there, or else just use something that's already existing. We could model it in as well, but we might as well model it in, since that's the whole idea of the tutorial. So go up to tree, and I'm just going to move some of these existing edges around. I can just add some more in. We could move these around, but it wouldn't really matter because it's a flat surface. So we'll just add some in. Doesn't really matter. I'm sorry, I thought I did something there. No, that one's in place, and that one there. And now we'll just back to fill mode 1, and we'll just tag these first. And now Q mesh single poly. I'm going to inset that first. So inset, and that's something you want to just make sure of. Inset is by default set to inset each poly, so just inset region is what we want. So we'll just inset that once, maybe put it onto Polygroup Island, inset it again, and then we might just maybe put a little I'm going to inset it once more, and you'll see why now in a second. And then I'm going to Q mesh Polygroup Island, and we're just going to choose this one here in the center, this red one, and just drag it in and click again once more. So at the moment you can see it's all wonky. So that's because of control edges. So you can see here there's an edge that was already existing, so that's why that looks, a little bit tighter than this. So no problem, we'll just insert an edge. So we'll put one here, and for Subdivide modeling, a good rule I've always kind of stuck to is the rule of 3 edges. So whenever you're looking for a sharp kind of corner, you want 3 edges running in, and by that I mean, we have these edges here. So 1, 2, and 3, and the closer they are, obviously the tighter the corner is. So that's tighten that up there for us nicely, and this is much easier to do on square and flat surfaces, a hell of a lot easier than rounded surfaces. So we'll extrude that out now, so we can just Q mesh a Polygroup Island, and we'll just pull it out once to give us our control edge, twice, and then we'll just a third time there, and then if we want we can just inset Polygroup Island, and that'll sharpen it up a bit more there for us. So now we can see there, as I said, we could have just added this on as a separate sort of a mesh with an insert brush or something, but I'll show you how to model it. Maybe we can just kind of little screws or something there. We'll model them in as well actually. We'll just have a look here. We'll just add a loop here and here and maybe here and here, and then we go to vertex and split, and we'll just include the crease. And what we want to do there, first is just maybe just add this in here as well. Now this might seem crazy, like crazy amounts of extra topology to be adding in, but it's more about just kind of showing techniques and stuff, you know. You can also terminate these edge loops as you might normally do in a traditional kind of package. I think it's a bit more difficult here because you can't just delete edges as you like, because it won't delete edges that leave n-gons, which is a problem when you're trying to do that kind of modeling. So we'll just, it's not a huge deal though. So there's one, and then we can just click to repeat last, and that'll kind of give us our little screws or whatever we want here. So I'm going to just go to Q mesh and Polygroup Island, and we just maybe pull it in, and then we can just click on that one and do the same on these. Click, click, and then we'll have a look, and we just have our little holes, cutouts there, and maybe this is where we could come in. Then you could also model out, you could just inset those and then model them out into screws, or else we could just do it with our insert brush. That's about the third time I've said that now. So what the hell, I've come this far, might as well just do them. So what we can do here again is we can split that point. Maybe I'll actually go a bit bigger there, split it out a bit more, and we can just repeat by clicking repeat last. Remember, it's very, very, very handy. And now we can hold down Alt and just tag these faces. And now back to Q mesh, single poly. We just Q mesh that out once, and there we now have our kind of screw type things, or screws with no screw heads, or not. Yeah, so that's fine. It's such a tiny detail, so you can hardly even see it, but we will go with that. So I'm turn off solo here now. There was one more thing I was going to do. I'll turn that off. And as I say, we have our I'm going to uncrease these edges kind of here. Leave that tiny bit of a curve on it. So solid that out, and we'll turn off the floor. Turn on our poly frame and back to low. Right, so what we want to do now is hover over an edge, crease edge, and then we can just hold down Alt and decrease these, or uncrease these, should I say. Uncrease them, and you can see now that they're too curved, so we'll use our old pals, the control edges. So insert, and now we'll just add some control edges in here. So I don't know, maybe somebody might have looked at the other video that's kind of specifically talks about using control edges and creasing in conjunction rather than using one or the other. So you can see there now we still have our little curve, but we've lessened that. And I'll just go back to this nice matte shiny material and unsolo, and there's our gun so far. So that is the end of this part. In the next part I'm gonna add in these sections here on the inside. So on the floor you can see these kind of weird roundy bits here. Now there's many ways to do this. Do these, you know, you could just you can create them from primitives and or dynameshes or whatever way you want to do it. There's a million different ways to do it. ZBrush, but we'll stick to our Z modeling techniques, and we might use Zmodeler and maybe even array mesh. So we'll do that in the next video. Alright, thanks for tuning in. Cheers, thanks, good luck.